was a grand old Victorian city built on gold rush money, now a combination of stately 19th century charm and modern melting pot energy. Americans call it Melbourne. Australians say Melbourne. A recent survey called it the world's most livable city, and today we're going to be calling it home. Good morning, America. I'm Charles Gibson.
And I'm Joan. It is Tuesday. It is May 11th, and this is day 2 of our second week down under in New Zealand and Australia. Today we are at Melbourne's Southgate, and as you look across from this development, you see rowers in the background going down. This is kind of where a river runs through it, you would say. This is the Yarrow River, to be precise. The rowers remind you of kind of the British flavor of the city, and yet it's against the spanking new backdrop of skyscrapers. There are the rowers right out there now. Absolutely.
Pretty. There's nothing prettier than an 8-oared shell coming through the water.
And just up the river, can you see the rowers out there?
I apologize. I don't know if we've got a camera on them or not.
But they're coming down the river right now. They're going downriver because upriver is Spencer Christian.
That's right, Joan, and you should be here where I am. This is the Melbourne Cricket Ground, one of this city's great cathedrals where the locals worship sports and the men who play them. Now, this cricket ground is the home of cricket, of course, but it's also the birthplace of the very rough Aussie rules football. And in this half hour, we'll try to explain both games to you. We hope. Joan?
All right. We begin our Australian odyssey. We'll look at a map on Friday at the Great Barrier Reef. Monday, we worked our way down south to Brisbane. Today, of course, we are in Melbourne at the southern tip of the mainland Australia with its grand gardens and Victorian architecture. Melbourne, at first glance, kind of fits its reputation as Australia's most conservative of Anglo-Saxon cities. But in reality, Melbourne is really a lively mix of many, many different cultures. And today, the most typical immigrant is Asian. But not all Australians are welcoming this latest group with open arms. In this half hour, we'll have a debate on whether some Australians want to close the door on immigration. Right now, though, we're going to go to Morton Dean back in New York for all the news and weather of the day.
Right, Joan, and good morning, everyone. President Clinton is on a mission to get control of his agenda, and he's trying to get the American people to help him. So he's taken his message about the economy on the road to the Midwest. The president told campaign-style crowds that he does not want to blame anyone, but it's time for his administration and Congress to get together and put his economic plan in place. ABC's Ann Compton is traveling with the president.
One way to influence the committee chairman who's going to carve up your tax plan is to take him to dinner in his home neighborhood. President Clinton and Congressman Dan Rostenkowski dined together in Chicago last night.
What can Dan Rostenkowski do to help you?
Oh, a lot. A lot. I mean, we have a chance to get the basic framework of this budget passed.
President Clinton's idea of influencing Congress is rooted outside of Washington, at places like Parma Pierogi, an up-and-coming enterprise near Cleveland, where middle-income Americans line up for ethnic food, and the president could once again touch the electorate that sent him to Washington.
All right, so what do you have?
His foray into the Middle West was designed to be a battle cry for change and a challenge to what he says are 80,000 lobbyists lining the corridors of Congress to keep the status quo and to defeat his proposals for taxes and spending cuts.
If everybody goes around saying what's in it for me instead of what's in it for us, the thing will come apart. That's what paralyzes America every time we got to make a tough decision. Somebody says, well, let somebody else do it. There's nobody else to do it but us. We're going to have to lift our country up, and we're going to have to do it together.
Today, more of the same. We're here in Bensenville, Illinois, outside of Chicago, where the president's going to talk about direct student loans from the government. And once again, lobbyists are on his target list of enemies. In fact, the White House is somewhat incensed about a memo it's come across from a bankers group which opposes direct loans, which suggests sending flowers and theater tickets to congressional aides who help block the program. So the president has once again found what he believes is the key to the success he found last November, and that is the people are the one who are going to decide what's right and who's wrong.
And quickly, if you could, there's just no doubt that the president was cheered by the reaction yesterday.
Oh, unquestionably. The man takes great energy from being out talking to people and touching people, but he also thinks this is what's going to make his voice heard in Washington. He has to leave Washington to have that pressure come back on the members of Congress who this week are starting to go line by line over his budget and his taxes.
Thank you, Ann. Ann Compton this morning. The president was talking about the economy all right, but he hasn't brought up the subject of Bosnia during his Midwest trip. But some of the people Mr. Clinton has met have brought it up. In response to one man's plea to avoid war, the president said he thinks some of the terrible things happening in Bosnia can be stopped without war. The Clinton administration has gone into what it calls a holding period on its plans for military action in Bosnia. The State Department says it has bowed to European desires to wait for the results of this weekend's Bosnian Serb vote on the UN peace plan. In Bosnia, the city of Mostar is quieter this morning than it was the previous 2 days. But there is still some fighting between Muslims and Croats in Mostar, despite a ceasefire agreed to by leaders of both groups. There are places in Bosnia without fighting, and there are residents who are seeking peace. Some of those people are in the town of Travnik, where there is also the fear of peace. ABC's Hillary Brown explains.
For centuries, Travnik has been a center of mixed Muslim and Christian culture and has a long tradition of tolerance. It stayed out of the recent fighting between Muslims and Catholic Croats in other towns in central Bosnia. Here, the two sides divided their control of the town, with Muslim soldiers patrolling the center, the Croats on the high ground. But there's a problem ahead. Under the UN plan, Travnik, with its Muslim majority, is to be given to the Croats as the capital of a Croatian province. According to this UN liaison officer, a British Army captain, that could make Travnik a tinderbox.
It could be. I think if with external influence, propaganda or a bad set of words from one of the politicians on either side, then the thing could explode.
Neither side wants that, the captain says.
The overriding force which has kept the town quiet is the two personalities in charge of the two sides, the military leaders on the Muslim side and the Croat side.
The Muslim commander, an officer in the former Yugoslav army, uses a spectacular riverside restaurant as his headquarters. Though he doesn't like the UN peace plan for Travnik, he doesn't want to see fighting start here. The Croatian commander is a professional police officer who fought in Sarajevo. He embraces the UN plan, which gives the Croats ultimate authority, but he too wants to keep Travnik peaceful and is willing to share command in the town. The British captain spends most of his time in constant shuttle diplomacy between these two moderate men. So far, they've agreed to joint checkpoints outside Travnik and joint police patrols inside. That's unique in central Bosnia. They plan to share the main army barracks. Already the flags of both sides flap optimistically above the gate. The captain's best moments are when he gets the two commanders together. His worst fear is that the peace plan, when applied, could become a source of conflict here instead of the solution. Hillary Brown, ABC News, Travnik.
The death toll is expected to go up dramatically as searchers go through the charred ruins of a doll factory outside Bangkok, Thailand. At least 121 people were killed in a fire that swept through the factory. More than 400 others were hurt. Most of the injured suffered smoke inhalation or fractured bones from jumping out of the burning buildings. California firefighters are trying to get control of more than 24 wildfires today. In San Diego County, residents were forced out by flames, but later they were allowed to return after shifting winds helped save their homes. Well, Spencer is enjoying the weather in Australia, so I'll try to fill in here. More rain is expected in the Mississippi Valley and Plains. There'll be some rain in the forecast along the Pacific Northwest coast. It'll be sunny and warm in the west. Temperatures will be in the 80s in the eastern third of the country. That's a look at the national forecast. Here's the weather where you are.
Good morning. Boy, it was a hot one yesterday. Temperatures in the 90s. Clear skies. We have clear skies this morning, but you see things are changing. Frontal system coming in, bringing a little cloud cover today, some cooler temperatures, and then this is coming in, and it's going to bring more cloud cover, more cooler temperatures, and maybe even some rain on Thursday and Friday. Here's the forecast. Look for a high today of 82 downtown Sacramento, 85 in Stockton, but the weekend's looking nice.
And that's a look at our weather and a look at the news. Now we go back to Melbourne, Australia, and here's Charlie.
Thank you, Mort. It is now 9 minutes after the hour. Australians, like the rest of the world, are focused on Bosnia, but perhaps with a slightly different perspective. Sue Neales spent the past month there, just returned from Bosnia. She reports for the Melbourne Age. Pleasure to have you with us. Do Australians see it differently? Can you compare the way Australians look at Bosnia and Americans do?
I think there's two sorts of Australians. There's Australians who obviously belong to the general community here and who are seeing it just like any other country from afar. We also have a very large Serbian and Croatian community here, and Muslims as well. And so they're obviously very integrally involved with the whole thing. They all have relatives here, they belong to local community clubs, and feeling has been running quite high locally.
It's such a hard situation to understand. You wrote an interesting primer on it last week and had an interesting comparison for Australians.
Well, I think Australia is a long way away from the action. A lot of people sort of know the former Yugoslavia, but really don't know what it's all about. They've lost track over the last 2 years. So I tried to explain it in very simplistic terms as, think of it like Queensland being the aggressor and waging war against Victoria and chucking all Victorians who lived in Queensland out of their homes and perhaps killing some of them, and then both armies going in and trying to invade New South Wales and fight over New South Wales. Now, it's not quite a good analogy, but it tries to bring it home to people, you know, that you can't imagine it happening, and the people in Yugoslavia say exactly the same thing.
But a war between the states, in effect, the states of Australia, you compared it to the states of Yugoslavia fighting with one another, with deep ethnic rivalries, obviously. Because of the fact that there are so many Serbs and so many Croats in Australia, do the Australians look at it differently, perhaps more sympathetically to that side and less sympathetically to the Muslims?
I don't think so. I think the feeling generally here is that, like the international perception, that in most cases Serbia has been the greater aggressor. But obviously we have a lot of Serbians here. In Bosnia I found that the Serbian soldiers were very sympathetic to me as an Australian. They perceive Australia to be quite independent in this because we do have such large Serbian and Croat populations here.
There are Australian troops positioned around the world in UN forces. Could they perhaps be in Yugoslavia?
I was talking to our Minister for Foreign Affairs last night about that, and his office said, not at the moment, it's not likely. We have a lot of troops at the moment in Cambodia for the elections there, and we've just brought 900 soldiers back from Somalia. And we have a lot of soldiers positioned in the Middle East and Africa and Asia, and we sort of see that more as our part of the world. Europe is really a long way away for us, and we really think other people should be playing a greater role there than Australia.
Very affecting, I know, for you to spend a month in Serbia to see what's going on there. Appreciate your being with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We're going to turn from Australia's view of Bosnia to Australia's view of its own immigrants coming into this country. Joan?
All right, Charlie, like the United States, Australia is really a land of immigrants. You can find here 1 in 4 people were born overseas. Many, of course, came in search of work, but because of a lingering recession and high unemployment these days, the Australian liberal immigration policy has really become the subject of an intense national debate. And with me this morning in favor of restricting immigration is Bob Birrell. He is professor of sociology of Monash University here in Melbourne. In favor of a more open-door policy is James Jupp, director of the Centre for Immigration and Multicultural Studies at the Australian National University in Canberra. We welcome both of you. Mr. Jupp, why don't we start with you by getting a picture of the immigration patterns that you've had over the years. Originally it was Scottish and Irish and British who came, I guess, first, what, in 1788, and again in the 50s there was another big flow. Since then, what has happened and who's immigrating now?
Well, the immigration policy until the Second World War was directed at bringing British people out to Australia, and they resisted to come in many cases. So it was overwhelmingly British, though not entirely. Since the war, since 1947, we started off bringing Europeans because we excluded non-Europeans until the end of the 1960s. And then since the 1970s, we've had a universal policy, which means that people's racial or ethnic or national origin doesn't count anymore.
And I guess about 1/3 of the population is British, but what is the criteria that allows you into the country?
Well, very considerably more than 1/3 of the population would be British origin, and more like 3/4.
Okay.
If you include Irish and British together.
Today?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
even
if you
today.
include those together.
Even
okay,
today.
Got it.
Criterion at the present moment is on 3 bases. There's either family, which means you're related to someone already in Australia, independent and skilled, which means you have an occupation which hopefully you can find employment in, and thirdly and smallest is the refugee and humanitarian, which is for people from refugee situations, as with other countries.
It's the finding employment here, of course, that is the crux of this whole problem. As I understand it, though, the quota has been lowered substantially in the last 5 years. How low do you think it should be lowered, Mr. Birrell?
Well, I don't think we should be recruiting any more skilled persons at this time in Australia.
Do you want to restrict that one category?
Yes, I think that's very important at the present time, because we are increasing our training of Australian young people, and we already have a serious surplus of some professions like engineering, and yet until recently we've been bringing in as many engineers as we've been graduating from our own colleges.
Is part of the problem you feel that when they say they are skilled, in fact, that is not, in fact, the case?
Well, our immigration program is largely demand-driven from people who are anxious to get, typically from a third world or Eastern European country, to an affluent Western country. So we've been getting a lot of people from Indian subcontinent, Eastern Europe, who've struggled to get employment in a tight labor market.
Mr. Jupp, how do you justify allowing more immigrants to come in when nearly a third, as I understand it, a third of those who immigrated here last year are now still receiving unemployment benefits? That seems to be the
Yes, that's
problem.
quite a serious problem. It's most serious with refugees who have the highest level of unemployment, and all parties in Australia agree that we should continue to take refugees, so that's not actually very controversial. The other area is in the family area, the dependents and relatives of people who don't speak English find it particularly difficult to get employment.
So the older population here.
Yeah, so that really if you cut back on the, if you want to cut back on the numbers unemployed, firstly you have to cut back on people who don't speak English as opposed to those who do, and then you have to really consider cutting back on the family reunion and the refugee intake. And that's rather politically difficult and controversial.
But I hear you saying that perhaps there should be some more shaving of it.
Well, there has been a very considerable reduction in the intake this year. And we're really taking in about half as many as we were 5 or 6 years ago. So the government has already done that.
Yeah, tremendous influx that this government is having to deal with. And as you can see, a debate that is going to go on here for some time to come. Thank you both very much. And we will be back from Melbourne, Australia in just a moment.
Honey, I'm home. You still on that couch? It's a beautiful day out there. Why don't you take Daisy for a walk? Fresh air will do you good. We'll make lunch while you're out. By the way, I picked up some Dryer's cookies and cream.
Dryer's. Evidently, it's not your normal ice cream.
I didn't think we could afford it.
Wrong. There's no trick to it. They're just cheaper. That's it.
Florida Road Toyota's got what you want. Because the warehouse discounts daily. 93 Tour sells only $99 a month. Get $4,000 discounts on 93 4Runners. 93 4x2 trucks, only $99 a month. Why go from dealer to dealer or pay more than you have to? Take 99 or I-5 to Florin Road and get it all right now. Florin Road Toyota, the Toyota warehouse. Discounts daily.
Every day at Lucky, you get some of the best prices in town. Now get some of the best prices out of town. Save up to $100 when you travel on Delta to almost anywhere Delta flies. Just buy $100 worth of groceries at Lucky. It's a great time to take off. Now fly Delta's daily non-stop service from San Francisco to Frankfurt. So get your bags packed for savings on Delta, now at Lucky.
Denny's asked America what they wanted in an all-you-can-eat breakfast. I want more choices in those breakfast bars.
French toast, omelets, fruit, you know, the good stuff. But I want my breakfast cooked the way I like it, with my eggs looking up at me.
I don't want to guess what it is or how long it's been sitting there.
Cook it fresh and bring it to me. And after a few minutes, bring me some more.
Oh, then give us more at lunch. Denny's.
America, there's a new all-you-can-eat Grand Slam breakfast menu. Only at Denny's.
Is that too much to ask?
Well, if you roll it, throw it, lob it, catch it, kick it, or most of all, tackle it, no matter what your sport, you can do it here in this country because this is a nation that is really crazy about its sports. So it only stands to reason that we have Spencer standing by at one of Australia's most venerable sports institutions, the Melbourne Cricket Ground. Okay, Spencer.
Right you are, Joan. Well, you know, we have a sports-crazy country as well, so it's not so difficult for Americans to understand the Aussie obsession with sports. It's just the sports themselves who we're not so sure that we understand. So we have someone to help us out this morning, Debbie Spillane, who is a sports columnist for the Sydney Sun-Herald and a presenter, as they say here, for the TV show Live and Sweaty, which has a rather intriguing title. I think I'd rather talk about that this morning, but actually we're here to talk sports.
Sure.
Why don't we start, Debbie, with cricket, which is a game that seems so difficult for Americans to grasp. Is it helpful for us to think of it as similar to baseball in any way at all?
Well, you can do that a bit. I mean, they did both evolve from the same game, which is the English game of rounders. If you think of it as like baseball with just two bases, and they run backwards and forwards between the two bases, and that's how they score a run each time. The bowlers deliver the ball over arm rather than pitching, and sometimes they get to you know, about 100 miles an hour, so they get a fair pace up.
But it can be a rather slow game. It can go on for days, can it not?
Yeah, test matches go for 5 days.
Of course, we think of baseball back in the States as being slow, too, but it doesn't go on for 5 days.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think cricket's starting to face some of the problems that baseball is facing, from what I understand, in the States, in that people just don't have the time to sit round and watch for days on end. They've developed a form of cricket called one-day cricket, and you'd be able to tell if you see one-day cricket, they're wearing coloured clothing, which is considered very modern for cricket.
Is it as difficult for Australians to understand our baseball as it is for us to understand cricket?
Yeah, I think they're very similar in that they're games with a lot of intricacies and subtleties. I mean, I had an American say to me, "Oh, you must explain cricket to me one day." I said, "1 day?" Like, you got about 2 months, you know? And, you know, you have to get into it. There's a lot of little bits and pieces. But it's one of those, it's an acquired taste, but it becomes an addiction.
Let's talk about the other game that's played so popularly here, and that is Aussie rules football.
Well, strangely enough, that actually evolved from cricket, would you believe? Because when they started building cricket clubs in Melbourne, they had the grounds, and they were thinking, now, how can we use these big grounds during winter? So they actually designed a game to use the full size of the ground, and it's a very big ground, much bigger than your normal football ground. And Aussie rules is based loosely on Gaelic football. And if you think of that as if you think of Aussie rules, I know it doesn't look like it makes any sense at all.
Looks like there are no rules at all.
Yeah, I know, everyone always says that. But if you think of it as almost like a game of basketball where they're trying to get the ball from one end of the field to the other, there's a lot of man-on-man matching up, and rather than pass the ball, mainly they kick it to get it down, and you score 6 points for going between the two big sticks, and the ones on the outside get 1 point each. In Sydney, we joke it's the only game in the world where you get a point for missing, you know.
Well, now, speaking of Sydney, a different style of football, or footy, as they say here, is played in Sydney altogether, right? We got
more footballs than most people have got religions in their country. In Sydney, rugby league is the most popular sport, but there's rugby union as well, which was the game that rugby league originated from.
This is quite different from Aussie rules football.
Very different. It's probably a bit closer to, say, American football, which we call gridiron here.
Before we run out of time, I just want to jump in here. Netball. We must touch on netball, which I think is one of the strangest sports I've ever seen on television. Tell us just quickly what that is.
Well, it's the most popular female participation sport in Australia. It's a variation of a modified version of basketball, although women are starting to play basketball much more here now. But it was considered a more refined game. There's a lot less body contact, and only 2 people on each team are allowed to shoot, and there's no backboard.
I've got clients and travel costs to think about.
Can you help? I'm in Cleveland tomorrow, Toronto Thursday.
For the way you travel today more than ever, the smart money is on budget. Save $15 now when you use the American Express card at budget. The smart money is on budget.
Hey, in Manteo, North Carolina, Ace is a place. Let's see why.
New answers to old problems.
Like Ace Pesticides, your choice for just $3.99 each. And Ace Waterproofing Sealer, now only $5.99 a gallon.
Hey, Ace is America's place for answers.
How fast do you think we could sell our home?
What if we find a great house before we sell ours?
These answers and more are here in Answers from ERA, your guide to buying and selling a home. Helpful tips, financial worksheets, it's all here. For your free copy, call 1-800-TO-ASK-ERA. When it comes to just the kind of help you'd expect from a friend, ERA wrote the book. ERA, first in service.
When you build appliances for as many generations as Frigidaire, you learn what families really need. Appliances styled and crafted so timelessly.
Daddy's meeting with the chairman today.
You can never outgrow them. The new Frigidaire, a complete line of quality crafted appliances.
You can be a chairman? Yeah.
Built to age beautifully.
And I was your first breakfast meeting. Frigidaire, built for generations.
If it were clothing, it would likely be the basic black dress. But it's a floor called Mannington Gold, designed to start beautiful and stay beautiful for years to come. Guaranteed. Mannington Gold, the look that lasts.
KOVR 13 News is brought to you by Thomas's English Muffins.
And good morning. Nice to have you along. It's 7:25 on Tuesday, May 11th. I'm Jim Weeder with a look at Northern California headlines and the Northern California commute. You should know that the railroad arms are stuck in a down position at Branshaw and Vintage Park Drive. Crews are en route to fix that situation. Construction alert on northbound Hazel and the on-ramp to eastbound 50. It's still going to be closed until this Friday. And in the south area, the CHP is clearing an accident at Florin and Sunrise Boulevard. Ready or not, another wildfire season is underway. In the last 24 hours, fires in 4 Northern California counties have burned about 3,000 acres. The largest in our area is burning in Amador County, just south of Highway 88 near Ellis Road. It's called the Road Fire. Firefighters expect to have it contained by around 6 o'clock tonight. It started yesterday afternoon in the El Dorado National Forest. At least 90 firefighters are out battling the flames and smoke. And in Placer County, a grass fire burned several acres along Highway 65 between Rockland and Lincoln. The fire started just before 6 last night, but was contained about an hour later. State lawmakers could be getting a raise of up to 15% or more this summer. They make about $52,000 a year now, but the California Citizens Compensation Commission says that they should get at least $60,000 a year. The commission does have the power to raise the salaries and will vote on this issue coming up in June. And about 600 workers will be laid off at the ConAgra frozen foods plant in Turlock this summer. Frozen dinners and pies are processed at the Turlock plant under the Banquet and Healthy Choice brands. The closure is intended to make the company more competitive. Of the 7 ConAgra frozen food plants around the country, this is the only one in California. Do you think you and I can apply for a raise? California Compensation Commission?
Yeah,
Dewey and Jim.
I think we could apply. I think there would be an immediate turn down.
Yeah, I think they'd go.
Yeah. Well, we got to turn down temperatures, too. Let's take a look at things. Right now, it is 56 in Sacramento, 55 in Stockton and Modesto and Marysville, 53 in San Francisco, 49 in Truckee, 52 at South Lake Tahoe, and 48 at Reno. We have a weak frontal system headed our way. Downtown Sacramento, 90 yesterday. McClellan, 94. Stockton tied a record for the day at 97 yesterday. This is going to spread cloud cover slowly over the area, bring some cooler temperatures into the region. This is coming in with some showers for Thursday and Friday and much cooler temperatures. And then high pressure will take hold again, push it all out of the way. Things will start warming up for the weekend. Should be a beautiful weekend. Look for a high in downtown Sacramento today of 82, 85 in Stockton, 86 in Modesto, 83 in Marysville, and 79 in Vacaville. And Thursday could be wet.
I'm proud to be part of the long line of head bakers at Thomas's English Muffins. I'm carrying on a tradition of making sure that folks are getting English muffins in a whole bunch of delicious varieties, from raisin to sourdough, that are baked like Mr. Thomas baked them. Nooks, crannies, and all. Over 100 years ago in England.
Hi. Hey, Ned. Hey, that's some muffin.
Thomas's English Muffins. There's a baker behind every nook and cranny.
Pat Still here, my Geo Prism, and Tom, the trying to convince me there's a better buy out there guy. Let's compare the Corolla. About the same car, but over 1,200 more for just a name? I don't think so. Let's look at the Civic. Over 1,100 more for less features? Next. How about the Escort? No airbag, no ABS, and less features? See ya. You better get a Prism like mine, Tom. A 93 Geo Prism starting from $99.95 at your local Chevy Geo dealer. Hey, Tom, that's my Prism. Hey,
Let's talk about your home. Your home is your castle. And who wants to be living in a castle with some raggedy old garage sale looking spring up through the cushion, broke leg, no 2 pieces of light kind of furniture? You don't have to. Just come down to your Get It Today store, RTO Rent to Own. RTO's got a complete living room with a cocktail table, end tables, and 2 lamps. Different styles from just $18.99 a week. Free delivery today. Look us up in the white pages under RTO.
The Ross store-wide clearance. Prices have been reduced dramatically throughout the store. Great savings for men, women, and kids. The Ross store-wide clearance. Now.
Watch KOVR 13 News.
For coverage you count on.
Paul Roos. I'm an Australian rules footballer from downtown Melbourne. I'm captain of the Fitzroy Football Club. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America. I'm Joan Lunden.
And I'm Charles Gibson. Good to have you with us. It is a Tuesday, May 11th.
That fellow that you just saw is a very, very big star in these parts because he is the captain of the Fitzroy Lions, and that's one of the city's famed footy clubs. I love that name, footy clubs, a.k.a. Aussie rules football. And back in the 1850s, it was first played on Australia's gold mine fields. We're going to show you how it's played, how to make Monday night football look like, I don't know, high school touch or something.
It sort of sounds a feat to call it footy. I mean, you just can't imagine Hank Williams coming on Monday night and saying, "Are you ready for footy?" I mean, it just doesn't sound the same as "Are you ready for football?" But footy is a very rough sport. No helmets, no padding. It is tough. The Australians, great sporting tradition, great in the tough sports like footy, great in the genteel sports like tennis. There was a day, of course, with Laver and Hode and Rosewall and Emerson and Margaret Court Smith when Australia really ruled the world in tennis, and they're trying to regain prominence. Steve Fox will take a look at that. Also, we're going to appear on Australian breakfast television while the Australian breakfast television hosts appear on our program. Little strange. Spencer this morning is just down the river a bit at one of the hallowed grounds of sport, the Melbourne Cricket Club. Spencer?
That's right, Charlie, at the MCG, the Melbourne Cricket Ground, is a place rich in history, founded in 1838, when the city of Melbourne itself was only about 3 years old. The initial investment in cricket here, $4.03. That bought 2 bats, 2 balls, and 2 wickets. Now, of course, there have been some improvements since then, including this big ultra-modern electronic scoreboard. And just imagine, I had to come all the way to the southern hemisphere to see my face and name in lights.
But just where you wanted to be. Thanks, Spencer. As is our custom, we're going to go back to New York for the news and the weather of the morning. Here's Morton Dean.
Good morning, everyone. It's day 2 of President Clinton's campaign to get his administration's priorities back on track. This morning, he's in Chicago to talk to students about one of those priorities, the proposed National Service Trust Scholarship Program. Yesterday, it was Cleveland, and the message was the economy. The president rallied a crowd at Cleveland City Club, but he also had another audience in mind, Congress. Congress is working on the president's budget package right now, and the president said he wants Congress and the White House to start working together.
I think we've all got to understand that we didn't get where we are overnight. We have to accept where we are. I don't care about who should bear the blame. But I don't think we should have people pointing fingers who helped to create the current course of events. We should pull together.
And in that spirit, the Clinton administration is signaling now that it's willing to compromise on a couple of key elements of the budget plan. The proposed investment tax credit for business will reportedly be dropped in exchange for a slightly higher corporate income tax rate. Also, budget planners say they may change the way the proposed energy tax would be levied to make it more fair to consumers. The commander of Operation Desert Storm gets involved in another storm today, the storm of controversy over gays in the military. Retired General Norman Schwarzkopf will testify before the Senate Armed Services Committee today. Yesterday, members of the committee went below the decks of warships to hear what sailors had to say about Clinton administration plans to end the ban on homosexuals in the ranks. Most of those who spoke out said they want to keep the ban, but a few said they saw no problem lifting it. All right. American policy toward Bosnia is on hold this morning. The Clinton administration says it has bowed to pressure from the European allies. Before deciding whether to use military action, the Europeans prefer to wait for this weekend's Bosnian Serb vote on the UN peace plan, so the U.S. will wait too. In Bosnia, a ceasefire is supposed to be in effect in the city of Mostar. It was agreed to by leaders of Bosnia's Muslims and Croats, but it's obvious that not all their followers received the message to stop the fighting that started on Sunday. We have more from the BBC's Martin Bell.
It was the second day of heavy fighting in Mostar. The Croats had the upper hand, but the Muslims weren't entirely defeated and were holding out in isolated pockets. Foreign correspondents were kept away from the city, but a Croatian reporter allowed in under escort described it as a war inferno. On his account, these were Croatian soldiers attacking the last remaining Muslim barracks in the west of the city. The problem, he said, is snipers and the people they took as hostages. What Croatian television did not show was Muslim civilians being rounded up. 300 of these were spotted briefly in a football stadium and hundreds of others being led away by armed guards. The head of all United Nations forces in ex-Yugoslavia has called for an inquiry into this, but the Croats deny that this is their kind of ethnic cleansing. They have repeated the charge that it was the Muslims who started the fighting. There is a company of Spanish UN troops in the area. All the UN can do is to broker a ceasefire if the two sides want it. The fighting did die down, but is still continuing, and the fear is that it will spread. The Mostar fighting is no accident, said Tihomir Blaškić, the Croatian commander in central Bosnia. If it increases in Mostar, it will increase here. The disengagement of forces agreed in this sector hasn't happened, and the two sides remain within range of each other's guns. Martin Bell, BBC News, for ABC News in central Bosnia.
Spencer's in Australia, so we'll handle the national weather. A dangerous storm is expected to hit the Mississippi Valley. It would bring heavy rain, hail, high winds, and possibly tornadoes. Most of the west should be sunny and hot. The Pacific Northwest should get some showers. That's a peek at the national forecast. Here's the weather where you are.
Good morning. Clear skies right now over the state, but cooler air is coming in with this frontal system along with a little cloud cover. May lead to some rain on Thursday and Friday. Today, look for a high of 82 downtown Sacramento, 85 in Stockton.
All right, a look at Australian breakfast television when Good Morning America continues from Melbourne.
Hi, I'm Bob Granger, here to answer one of your drugstore questions. Why are pharmacists always up on a platform? I have no idea. You see, medicine shop pharmacists are always down here, where you are. Makes for easier conversation. The medicine shop, what a pharmacy was meant to be. If you've never been to a medicine shop pharmacy, listen to this. Get a free $10 gift certificate. Just bring in your prescriptions for a price quote. No purchase necessary.
It is a responsive dual overhead cam engine, but it's not a Mercedes. It is a highly advanced multiple-link suspension system, but it's not a BMW. And it has an airbag with terminals plated in gold, but it's not a Lexus. It's an entirely different kind of luxury sedan. It's an affordable one, the Nissan Altima. It's time to expect more from a car.
A camera that's so mini, why does Canon call it Max?
It's packed to the max. All automatic, so you can't miss. Packed to the max. Shoots wide angle and telephoto like this. Packed to the max. With smart autofocus for you. And red eye reduction too. It's little, but it's loaded. There's nothing that it lacks. This Canon is packed to the max.
New Sure Shot Telemax, Sure Shot Max from Canon.
Some people think the only way to keep a carpet looking new is to avoid walking on it. But this is new Master Life. It's made of a tough DuPont fiber that can stand up to even heavy foot traffic and stay beautiful for years.
Hey, Dad. Thanks for the car, Dad.
DuPont Master Life. The more you walk on it, the more you'll like it.
Oh, honey, you're home early.
Call for a Master Life store near you.
As we did on our visit to Great Britain a few years ago, we really wanted to meet our counterparts here, meet the host of morning television. But ironically, when we came here, they went there. Where's there?
Well, the Australian breakfast television hosts are in the United States, while we United States hosts are in Australia. It's a little strange, but we've tracked them down at the EPCOT Center at Walt Disney World in Florida. Liz Hayes and Steve Liebmann are with us. Steve, can you hear us?
The most popular one in the United States, Good Morning America, is broadcasting, as we said, by sheer coincidence from Australia. And we also trust that they're spreading the good word about the land down under.
We certainly do. Well, we're about to find out as the hosts of the show, Joan Lunden and Charles Gibson. Join us now from Melbourne. Good morning to you both.
Good morning. We're on your show, you're on our show. Is that the way this is working?
Isn't that crazy?
Now, what I want to know, Liz, you guys call yourself the Today Show, is that right?
That's right.
And yet you're modeled on our program, Good Morning America, is that right?
That is also quite right, Charles.
Now, I worry about that because, you know, the Today Show is not a name that we take too kindly to.
No, but I mean, it's sort of part of the land down under. I mean, everything's upside down and back to front. How did you guys cope with the jet lag?
What jet lag? Was the time different here than it is there?
We haven't stood still long enough to let it hit us, I don't think.
Now, Joan, we love Australia, but are you loving it as well?
I must tell you, Liz, we have had an absolutely fantastic time here. It has been just beautiful, both New Zealand and Australia. We started at the Great Barrier Reef on Friday, and we're working our way down the coast here. We're looking forward to seeing Sydney, where I believe you are based. I remember when the folks from your show came over to our show and spent many, many mornings sitting in with us when you were getting ready.
That's right.
How long have the two of you been doing this show? How long have the two of you worked together?
7 years.
7 years?
7 years.
It'll never last.
Actually, Charles, it's a bit like a marriage now. I mean, we even speak together, you might notice. I mean, we do everything very similarly, which is a worry, I think.
We make the same analogy with us. I think I see Joan more than I see my own wife.
I'm happy to see that you're sitting in nice weather, because we heard you got rained on yesterday. We felt bad.
We're sitting in great weather. You have the advantage, do you not? You can actually see us.
Yes.
Yeah,
we always
can't
like to
see
have
you.
the advantage.
Does that make you homesick, Joan? Because you have ties with this part of America, don't you?
Absolutely. I've been working with Disney for the last 12 years, doing all their parades down there.
Yes, there's different, Steve, there's different worlds down there. There's the actual park itself. What do they call it? The Magic Kingdom. And then there's EPCOT Center, and then there's London Land. It's a major part of Disney World down there.
Charlie, just very finally, breakfast television is the growth area for Australia. I mean, in America, it really has caught on. It's been going for something like 35, 6 years. Is that right?
Absolutely. It's very much a part, I think, of most Americans' morning. We've got to jump out here. Have a wonderful time there in Florida.
Yes, you too. Was it something we said that you left the country when we were on our way over here?
Yes.
Make sure Joan leaves the kangaroos. Bye.
Okay, all right. We got to jump out here. We'll talk about sports once again, of course, when we come back.
I worry about that Today Show business. I'm not sure.
Travel to Australia provided by Continental. One airline can make a difference. Business first. The comfort and service of international first class at a business class fare. That's the difference on Continental.
With most diets, you're totally preoccupied with food. Planning, shopping, cooking. At Jenny Craig, it's all done for you. So you get to focus on learning the new habits that will help.
And I don't expect anything from anyone. I was just commenting how nice it was of Mrs. Sterling to do everything that she said.
Things were rough before I got laid off, and then, wow. Creditors calling day and night, foreclosure notices on our house. My wife finally stopped the madness. How? Called Jacoby and Myers. Instead of losing everything, all we lost were the bill collectors. Our bankruptcy lawyer helped us keep our house, furniture, my tools. You know, the bankruptcy laws aren't just for big corporations. What's next? I think we got a shot at getting our credit back.
VCRs these days are as complicated as these professional machines. But did you know that it's vital to clean video heads regularly? The latest technological achievement out of Japan in video head cleaning tapes is this, the Video Mate. Its unique chamois ribbon maximizes the life of video heads and pre-recorded tapes, as well as restoring the optimal picture quality.
Call 1-800-955-5155 to order the Video Mate. That's 1-800-955-5155.
How would you like to have a beautiful near-new truck for about half price? Come to Worthington Chevrolet. Here's a 90 Ford Ranger, $49.95. Here's an 88 Dodge Ram 4x4, $59.95. Here's a 92 Chevy half-ton, $89.95. Here's a 91 Ford F-150, $99.95. Here's a 91 Ford Aerostar XL, $99.95. You get a 10-day car exchange. It's Worthington Mitsubishi and Worthington Chevrolet, and we're on Florin Road, and we're open till 10 every day.
Well, if there's one thing that touches the heart and soul of just about everybody in the city of Melbourne, it's their dearly beloved footy. That's Aussie Rules football, a game that was born right here. and has aroused the passions of people from all walks of life in Melbourne. Now, the Melbourne Cricket Ground, which is where we are right now, is the home of Aussie rules football here in this area. And to help us understand the game, by the way, I might point out that this stadium can hold about 90,000 people for a big event. And to help us understand the game better is Paul Roos, who's the All-Australian captain of one of Melbourne's 10 clubs, and that's the Fitzroy Lions?
That's right.
Fitzroy Lions, got it right. Now, we said the game of Aussie rules football was born right here at this particular stadium. Why don't you tell us a little bit, Paul, about the origins of the game, just how it came about?
Yeah, basically the game's over 100 years old. It started in Melbourne. It's predominantly played all over Australia. The main league was played in Victoria, and it's since over the last 6 or 7 years has been expanded to an Australian competition. So there's teams in our particular league playing all over Australia now.
Well, those of us back in the States who are sports nuts have seen the game a few times on ESPN, but I don't think we have a really good grasp of the game. So we've got some players here from the Richmond Club to help us demonstrate how the game is actually played. Can you show us how the game starts?
Yeah, what we'll do is we're going to start off with a game here. We've got Mel Brown, who's the umpire. They throw the ball up. It's a little bit like a basketball situation.
Right.
The ball's knocked down by the ruckman, and then the game starts like that. So it's a little bit similar to a jump ball in basketball where we start the game.
And we should point out to our viewers that the game is played at a much faster pace than this. These guys are slowing it down just for demonstration purposes.
Yeah, definitely.
Now tell us how the ball is advanced down the field.
Okay, as you can see, the guys now are handballing it back and forward to each other.
That's when they punch it?
That's when they punch it, yeah. They hold the ball on one hand and hit it off that hand with the other, and they punch it back and forwards. That's a very popular way to get it from player to player. Also, you can see now Craig's kicking the ball. That's, as you can see, the ball goes from anywhere between 20 to 80 yards. So it's a very, very good way of advancing the ball down the field.
So in this game, you're not allowed to actually throw the ball as you do in American-style football?
No, not at all. If you throw the ball, you actually get a penalty against you or a free kick against you.
Okay. Now, how does one score?
Okay, you can see down the end of the field, we've got 4 posts.
Right.
The 2 larger posts, if you kick it between those 2 on the full, it's called a goal, or 6 points. If it goes between the 2 smaller ones, it's only 1 point.
Okay, can we quickly bring one of these guys over and take a look at this uniform? Because, you know, one of the things that is big about football back in the States is the protective gear, because we're very conscious of protection against injuries. These guys are wearing underwear.
Yeah.
Looks like a track uniform here.
Well, I guess the predominant thing about our jersey and our uniform is basically the guys have to travel vast distances, so really the less amount of clothing you wear is very important, a bit like an athlete or a runner. You can see the jumper is fairly tight fitting, so it's a bit hard to grab and a bit hard to tackle the player. The shorts, as you said, are quite short, but it's more, as I said, because the guys are running very, very long distances, and the lighter weight, the better for the game.
Amazing, amazing. I admire your courage. Well, thank you, Paul, for joining us. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at the rebirth of the great tennis tradition here in Australia when Good Morning America continues.
Highlights of Good Morning America's 2-week broadcast in New Zealand and Australia are available on home video. To order a video cassette, call 1-800-543-4GMA. The cost is $25.
Of all the ways you can furnish your home, one of the most beautiful ways is with Anderson feature windows and patio doors. Classic lines shape the light that shapes your mood. Elegant designs bring the warmth of tradition, the comfort of nature. Ordinary furnishings create a look. Anderson windows create an experience.
Mr. Coffee presents Potato Perfect, real oven-baked potatoes in about 25 minutes. Potato Perfect by Mr. Coffee. What'll he think of next?
What brings you to Clausen?
I'm looking to cook pickles. I'm a pickle cook.
We don't cook our pickles.
Why don't you cook your pickles?
It's just a matter of taste.
Unlike most pickles, Clausen pickles are never cooked. They're always cold, always crisp, always delicious.
Don't cook your pickles. That's funny.
Hey, look who's hanging with Mr. Cooper.
What happens when your landlord dies?
Why call 1-800-DENTIST?
Information.
We just moved here and didn't know who to call.
The service is free to me. Why wouldn't I use it?
I needed someone near my home who took insurance.
I've got to have nitrous oxide.
I'm really nervous about going to the dentist. They understood that.
Who has time to research a dentist on their own?
Have you ever looked in the phone book under dentist? Forget it.
At 1-800-DENTIST, we ask the tough questions and give you the answers. Call today.
No one has more #1 sellers than your Ford dealer. Ford Escort, the #1 selling small car in America. Now get a loaded Escort LX 3-door, 4-door, 5-door wagon, all for one low price, just $10,499. If the Escort's your first new car and you're under 30, you can get a $300 discount with the Ford Young Buyer Program. It's the Ford #1 summer. Only your Ford dealer has 5 of the 10 best sellers in America.
It is now 10 minutes before the hour. Here on the Yarrow River in Melbourne, a footnote to tennis history was made this past January. Just up the river is the National Tennis Center, where they play the Australian Open. And the top-seeded American Jim Courier won the tournament this past January after a grueling match with Stefan Edberg in 110-degree heat. So who could blame Jim Courier? He went tearing out of the stadium and jumped into the Yarrow River. Cooled him down a bit. But the problem for this country is it's been a long time since any Australian made that kind of splash. Now, there was a day when Australia ruled the tennis world, and so Steve Fox came down here to try to find out how Australia is trying to gain prominence again in the tennis world.
During the heyday of Australian tennis, this nation became the home of champions. From the 1950s to the early 70s, international tennis competition was dominated by names like Rod Laver, Ken Rosewall, Margaret Court, the only woman to win the tennis Grand Slam twice, Yvonne Goolagong, and John Newcombe. However, the glory days of Australian tennis have been over for about 20 years now. Aside from the occasional surprise victory, like Pat Cash winning Wimbledon back in '87, Australian triumphs in major world tournaments are largely a thing of the past. But that could change. The Australian government, with the help of corporate sponsorship from McDonald's, has gone into the business of identifying and developing promising young tennis players.
Don't overrun the ball. Try and balance.
Two-time Wimbledon doubles champ Peter McNamara is now involved in the development program, coaching some of the nation's best young players, like Kristen Godrich.
Watch the ball at your feet.
The development program has cost about $20 million over the past 10 years and now provides coaching and organized competition for up to 10,000 youngsters. The younger, the better.
We start at 8, 9, 10 years of age, and we go out to the country, we go to city areas, and we look for the talented kids. Unfortunately, we have a problem because we have basketball coming into the fore, we have soccer coming into the fore, and we have other sports that are just taking over. So we're trying to grab these young kids at an early age and put them into tennis.
The emphasis on technique and coaching seems to be an attempt to return to the glory days when elite Australian tennis players were led by the legendary coach Harry Hopman.
He could see the talent, and he could produce the talent on the day, and as he had so many great champions over the years. And I think we need someone like that today to take his place, but unfortunately, they're very difficult to come by.
Neil Fraser was a well-regarded player back in the heyday of Australian tennis. Today, he is the captain of the nation's Davis Cup team, which recently defeated the United States, the defending champion. Several members of the team, including Todd Woodbridge and Jason Stoltenberg, were products of the development program.
Oh, I think every player that played for Australia in Davis Cup or Federation Cup has benefited from these programs in some form or manner. I think that they owe whatever success they've had a lot to the programs that have existed through Tennis Australia's administration.
Part of the effort to revitalize Australian tennis involved replacing an aging old stadium with the $100 million Flinders Park National Tennis Center, the site of the Australian Open since 1988. It is now regarded as the most modern tennis facility in the world.
While we don't have #1 in the world like a Borg or a Becker did for Swedish and German tennis, at the moment we've got to replace that with the magnificent stadium. But if we do get someone through, so you've got someone #1 in the world and you've got a stadium like this, I think tennis will go through the roof in Australia again.
I hope that there's 5 Australians in the top 10 with the imagination of McEnroe, the charisma of Agassi, and the sheer brilliance of Sampras. In the real world, I just like one of them.
Well, will Australia produce in the near future a #1 in the world player?
We'd like to think so, but we won't produce the players that we produced in the 50s and the 60s because the competition is so much more tougher.
Tennis is our backbone of competition. And we need to be up there again to show the world that we're competitive.
Now we're into the advantage part of the tiebreaker.
The Yvonne Goolagongs, the Margaret Court Smiths, the Lavers, the Hodes, the Rosewalls. You've got to hope they'll be back. Good Morning America continues from Melbourne, Australia. Stay with us.
I really love this perm, so I'm taking care of it with Nexus Rejuva-Perm.
Rejuva-Perm, the Nexus program that makes perms last longer.
Soft, long-lasting curls. It's Nexus hair.
I used to have damaged hair. Then I fixed it with Carafix. Nexus Carafix.
Carafix Cream Reconstructor makes damaged hair silky and strong.
From damaged to beautiful. It's Nexus hair.
We all work so hard today. That's why I treat myself to new Irish cream, amaretto, and hazelnut coffee mate. So many treats. So little time. New flavored coffee mate. Your coffee never had it so good.
Taste it, Grandpa.
He never would have tried this with his old adhesive.
Fixident holds stronger than any other adhesive. It even stands up to the hottest liquids. For the strongest hold you can get, Fixident and forget it.
Hi, Charlie.
You startled me.
What you cooking?
Nothing.
Those look like Johnsonville brats.
No. Come on, I know a Johnsonville brat when I see one. They're not Johnsonville. They are Johnsonville brats. I love them. Could you come back tomorrow, please? Oh, please don't do that. Charlie Murphy cooking Johnsonville brats! Johnsonville brats!
Folks can't resist the simply great taste of Johnsonville brats.
Hi, I'm Jim Palmer. Thinking about refinancing your home? Even if you've been late on some payments in the past, you can still refinance your first mortgage and get today's low rates at the Money Store. Because the Money Store looks at your total credit picture. They won't automatically disqualify you for some late payments. And you can apply by phone with no application fee. So even if you've been late on some payments, you can still refinance your first mortgage. Call the Money Store at 1-800-677-4409.
Good Morning America in Australia is brought to you by Anderson Windows.
Coming up from here in Melbourne, we're going to be checking in on Australian television, which is not always what it seems. We'll explain to you. Also, we will check in on Australian opera's hot new tenor, whose roots are actually in rock.
We'll look at Australian fashion. Melbourne really is the center of fashion in this country. And you'll also get the secrets of Australia's backyards. They're big gardeners here. We'll be back.
In Australia, Telstra is proud to provide the Good Morning America team with all of its communication needs. Telstra.
TV's top comedies are back-to-back. First, Rosie Can't Afford a Dentist.
You go to a dental college, have a student work on it?
Yeah, but with my luck, I get somebody who's there on a football scholarship.
Smile, it's a new Roseanne. Then, Tim's late for dinner.
Now you're stuck with a plate of cold food.